Hello and welcome to this review of last weekend's local football action with Colin Ryde and my special guest Patrick Lock. And Patrick, no game for Oxford United last weekend because of the international break, so all eyes turned to local FA Cup action with Kelvin Langley's Banbury United at home to St Albans, Patrick.
Yeah, we all like a big FA Cup tie, don't we? And it was certainly that this weekend. Banbury United trying to get a place in the first round proper and potentially even a match against Oxford United. But St Albans City, who obviously anyone in Oxfordshire will remember, City played in the playoff final in the National League South a few years ago. Now it's step three, so it was an all step three tie to try and get through to the first round proper. It's an interesting game. I think Banbury probably had the better of the first half, but it finished 1-1 at half time. St Albans took the lead through Leo Seri 20 minutes in or so, but Reece Deitch levelled quite quickly as he headed in a set piece to make it 1-1. It was a very tight second half. It was both teams playing well, and it was a very tight midfield battle. Not too many chances or anything, but both sides, it looked like for a moment like both sides may find a winner or something, but neither side could do. So it's now going to a replay on Tuesday night. So I'm sure we can hear from the studio a bit later on what happened in that game.
Indeed, but here's Puritans Radio's Dave England talking to Kelvin Langley after the game.
Thank you very much, Kelvin, for coming up and joining us. Your impressions on that game this afternoon?
It was tough. We knew it would be. Like I say, we had them watched. They've got good players, good experience, nullified our threats a little bit at times, but always felt like they could go and hurt us. So, look, we're in the hat. That's the main thing. Obviously we'd have liked to have won today, but it was never going to be an easy game. It wasn't going to be one of them where we got to just turn up and, waltz through to the first round. It was a really tough game. The lads gave us everything. It's not even really a criticism, but I just felt second half, really, we didn't create too much. We didn't get it out into the wide areas as much as we would have liked, where we felt we could cause them a problem. So we get another go, don't we? We'll have a go Tuesday. Obviously, really important the lads take care of themselves. They shouldn't be in any way despondent by that. I know there was a big crowd, which again was fantastic. Really good progression in that area. But it was a tough game, really tough game. Knew it would be. And we go again Tuesday.
Were there any surprises in it for you, Kelvin? Because when I've spoken to you before, we've often talked about the differences in the styles that maybe certain leagues have. I mean, they are a level 3 side like yourselves, St Albans City, but come from a different division. Was there anything there that probably took you a little bit by surprise?
No, not really. Like I say, Craig went there last week and watched them. We had a look at all their lineups from the past 3 or 4 games and what they did. We knew they made changes last week, and the chances our lads would come back into it a little bit like ourselves. So no, look, they're a big side, they're a strong side. They've got some brilliant experience in there and some good players, and they've got a threat. You have to be on it all across the pitch. Especially when we were getting balls into their box, whether it was long throws. At times this season we've been hurt on the counter attack, but I feel like we've got much better at that. So no, look, we're still in the hat. I'm really pleased about that. Obviously, I'd have loved to have gone on to win this game, but it was a tough game. It's going to be doubly tough down there at their place on Tuesday.
What are the positives you take from the game tonight against St Albans City? Looking back on it, I know it's very soon after the game, but are there positives you take from this, take into the next game? Yeah,
loads on and off the pitch, if I'm completely honest. Obviously on the pitch, look, I'm so pleased with the group that I've put together. The way they work for each other, they're all really good lads. I go in the change room at half-time, before the game, half-time, after the game, and they're all, talking to each other. It's not walking in, it's silent. I've got proper men in there who are happy to put their opinion across and say things. And, one of the big things for me when I came into this role is that I wanted to create an enjoyable environment where lads could turn up and enjoy their football, but that only happens when you've got good people around you, and we've absolutely got that on the pitch. The way they work for each other is incredible. Same for the staff off the pitch, and last time I was here as a player and we got through to the fourth round, there was a big crowd like this, and just kind of, I did take a moment just before the game and have a look around and just think, this is huge for me as a young manager, trying to put a squad together, trying to get Banbury kind of moving in the right direction. So loads and loads of positives. Obviously I'd like to have won the game, of course, but we're still in that, and I'll take that right now, and we'll go down there and have a right go at it on Tuesday.
What's the general feeling in the dressing room after the game? Yeah,
positive. Paul, I just said to him, look, we all would have loved won today. That hasn't happened. So now it's like, thank you, that's done. What's next? Massive game on Tuesday night. And, they'll prepare right. I trust them, absolutely, to do the right things between now and then. We'll look into as much as we can in terms of myself and my staff. Jack will be on all the players because some of them put an unbelievable shift in there. One or two carrying some knocks as well. So one or two playing through the pain. But that's what they'll do for each other. There is no throwing the towel in. You saw that. So overall, look, I'm delighted to be in the hat. We'll see whatever on Monday. But all focus for us now is Tuesday.
How much does the draw become a little bit of a distraction, or is it something you can use as an incentive, whichever way it comes out?
Well, yeah, look, if it works out that it'll be a really good draw for us, then of course you're not going to be able to ignore that. But, there will be no kind of looking at that too much because it's Tuesday. It's all about Tuesday. We'll watch this game back. We'll analyse where we think we can be better, where we think we can hurt them, and where they hurt us, and how do we try and nullify that as well. So it's all on Tuesday now.
Our thanks to Puritan Radio's Dave England there for that chat with David Langmead after the game. If you want to hear the whole interview and much more about Banbury United, then head to Banbury United's website there. So, OK, Patrick, after last weekend's football kick chaos down at Oxford City, the Hoops were on the road to Chorley at the weekend. Looked for a while to be on their way to 3 points, but in the end had to settle for just the 1 point, Patrick.
Yeah, it's another one of those games where City led 2-0 and then 3-1. So, yeah, a bit of a kick in the teeth to Ross Jenkins' men. As an Oxford City fan myself, it's one of those interesting ones, isn't it, where probably before kick-off, if someone offered you a 3-3 draw, you'd have probably happily taken it. But based on the circumstances, it felt a bit like a loss, really. But listening from afar, it was supposedly a good performance from City. I heard from City's media manager Andy Gates said it was probably the best first half performance he's seen from City this year. So yeah, certainly some positives. Tom Scott scoring twice, 2 good goals as well. And Darnell Johnson scored for City just before half time. He headed home a Josh Ashby free kick to make it 2-0. Really entertaining second half, watching the highlights as well. Both teams who weren't looking at sitting back and defending. City, probably one of City's failings the last few weeks is sitting back too much and getting deeper and deeper into their own half. But City did actually look to try it. I think you'd say the best form of defence is attack kind of thing. So did try to attack more, and then when Chorley made it 2-1, City then quickly made it 3-1 again. So it's a disappointing result really when you're 2-0 and 3-1 up, but maybe when you look back at it, you probably say it's quite a good point against a team fighting for the playoffs.
Yeah, and we can hear Andy Gates chat with Ross Jenkins, the Oxford City manager, after the game.
Ross, 3-3 here at Chorley, a draw. Heartbreaking to concede right at the death. It might take you a little bit convincing to say that was a good point in the circumstances. I imagine that you are incredibly deflated after that because that was some performance.
Yeah, to sort of put the work in like we did and to get a point out of it. It's great, obviously, because Chorley are a top team and they're at the top for a reason. And you have to give them credit as well. They fought back and they got the point that they probably deserved. But for me, you score 3 goals away on the road at Chorley, I believe we expect to win. The 2 decisions, the first goal, obviously, is not very good marking. Then it's a goal line scramble and they tap it in. The second one's a penalty, which I think it is a penalty. And the third one, I thought we just didn't deal with the long ball into the box, didn't get tight enough to stop the cross, and first contact wasn't big enough to get it out of the box, and then I think he shifted it and absolutely spanked it bottom corner. So really deflating. We've had chances as well to score more. I think Parker's had a 1v1. We've probed. Tom Scott had a nice shot at the end, but the score 3 at Chorley, for me, I expect to win. And that is a massive shift. The boys put in an absolute shift, and I thought they played really well. Don't want to go through the whole team, but there's some real standout performances in there. But the boys are going to be sore because that was a real massive effort against a real good team, solid team in Chorley. I think we didn't. 20 minutes in the second half, I thought we stopped their source a little bit, and then we got a little bit deeper, which is natural. Their fans started getting a little bit louder, and we sort of had a flashback of Kidderminster. As much as we don't want to go back that far, but I think that was sort of a feeling we had. And we made a couple of subs to try and freshen it up before Isaac came on and was running in behind. They made a few good tactical fouls, but you look at it on the road against Chorley, who've been doing really well. I think at the start of the game, I think loads of people would say take a point. I think, but to score 3 goals on the road, we want 3 points. But we'll take a point. We have to get on the bus, lick our wounds, because that feels it's a hard one to take. And Tom Scott was a bit of a makeshift centre forward today, and I thought he was outstanding. I could go through the whole team, but I think that performance was really good today, and he got his goals he deserved.
You call Tom Scott a makeshift striker. He looked like
Michael Owen.
Yeah, he was brilliant. That's exactly what you need from your team, isn't it? You step into those positions where they're not quite comfortable, but he stood up to the plate today. And I know you say that you don't want to go through the team.
Yeah.
But, I mean, first half, personally, I thought that was the best Oxford City performance I've seen all season in a half. Is that something you echo?
Yeah, we worked hard in a week. We worked on different things, different personnel, different system. And I thought it looked really well, looked really good, and we saw really good glimpses today. And I thought what we was doing was working. So the boys took it on board. And I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm not saying we drew the game because no one sort of executed the game plan or switched off. It's just moments, really fine moments that we're sort of digging our own grave at times. Little things on clearances, staying with men, really sort of split-second stuff. In between that, shape was really good, discipline was good, work ethic and distance covered was really good, combative, winning first contacts, getting stuck in, winning tackles. It was all there. It was just, and I'm talking, it feels like a loss, but it's not.
It does feel like
it feels like a loss because we put in everything, and I believe we needed to get that win. But football's cruel at times. We could have scored another one, but can't fault the effort today. The boys are going to be disappointed, it's natural, but we've got the coach journey to get over that. The boys will get some food, play some poker and get back to sort of the good feeling, because I don't want it to be dreary or suicidal on the bus, because we've just come to a really good Chorley team, great fan base. They put pressure on you to make it difficult, and we weathered it. And just 3 moments that decide a game, and it's a point, not a loss.
Yeah, when they just settle us, I think there'll be plenty more positives and negatives to take from that. Let's look forward. Southport, I almost said Southend then. Southport at home on Saturday. Good to get back home. If we play like that, the win is coming, isn't it?
We've been playing well. It's moments of games that we've switched off, or clearances have been a bit loose, or maybe concentration for 5 to 6 seconds. Really small moments of games that decide games. So as long as we keep addressing that, I thought today we did that, but again, a few moments that different moments. We've not really conceded a sort of a penalty like that yet. I know Byron got sent off for one that was crazy, but I think that you need a bit of luck. You need to generate your luck. Today, I thought we generated enough chances and performance-wise all over the pitch to get that luck, but. A point is better than a loss away to Chorley. It could feel a lot different if we'd have lost that game. So loads of positives to take it to our next game at home. If the boys apply themselves like that and they work as hard as they did, and they stick together and keep believing in what we're doing, things turn. And to score 3 at Chorley is something to praise as well. Not many teams can do that. We should have had 4. So there's plenty of positives in there. Just 3 moments we need to digest and have a look at.
So thanks to Andy Gate there for the interview with Hoops manager Ross Jenkins. And again, if you want to hear the full interview, then go to the Oxford City website, and there's much more there about Oxford City. Okay, Patrick, so Tame United, their recent form continued the weekend, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely flying now, and they've made it 3 wins in 3 in the Southern League Division 1 Central. Lance Williams gave Tame the lead just before the half hour, and London Lions level just after half time, but Dan West put Tame back ahead just before the hour to seal an important win. And we talked a few weeks ago about the positions in the table and being low down this early on. And it shows because 3 wins has seen Tame up to 13th and not that far away from the top half of the table. So, yeah, it's important wins for Tame, and yeah, hopefully finding form at the right time.
All right, sadly, back-to-back wins for Didcot's Town. They couldn't follow it up and make it 3 in a row, Patrick. So disappointing. Although they do still need to really put more points on the board. They're still in the relegation zone, Patrick, as we speak.
Yeah, it's a shame because Didcot were kind of going toe-to-toe with Tame for their recent form, and both teams had found 2 wins in the last 2. And yeah, unfortunately, Didcot, they fell to a narrow defeat at Shaftesbury. Shaftesbury took the lead just on the stroke of half-time. Owen James levelled just after the hour for Didcot, scoring his 4th consecutive game. So Owen James in good form for Didcot there. But unfortunately, Brandon Mundy scored for Shaftesbury with about just over 10 minutes to play. So Didcot narrowly defeated there, but certainly not disgraced.
Okay, Patrick, then can you round up the rest of last weekend's men's local football action, please? And then we'll have a look at how the ladies got on.
So we'll start, as ever, with the Combined Counties League, and obviously a lot of Oxfordshire teams in this division this year. 2 Oxfordshire derbies to report on this weekend, and the first came on Friday night as Abingdon United convincingly beat North Leigh 6-1 to get back to winning ways. Freddie Dunham got 4 of those, and Anna Odiambe got the other 2, so only 2 goal scorers for Abingdon there. But as we saw last week in Abingdon, teetering just above the relegation zone, it was a very important win for Abingdon there, and it's put some distance between them and the bottom 2 now. So they're about 5 points clear of that, even though we are still quite early on in the season. Wallingford and Crowmarsh versus Milton was the other Oxfordshire derby, and Wallingford and Crowmarsh came out on top of that 2-1. Tyler De Cruz and James Williams scored the 2 goals for Wallingford, while Harry Thomas got the Milton goal. That result seen Wallingford creep back into the playoff positions, with Milton falling just a few points back of there, so they're about 5 or 6 points adrift now. But again, still plenty of time to turn anything around. Ardley United, they were also 2-1 victors. They played Ashford Middlesex away. Elliot Barton and Zarius Gurode were the 2 Ardley goals there. The only other game in that division, Kidlington were held to a goalless draw against Broadfield United, and it was actually Kidlington who Wallingford and Crowmarsh overtook to see them into the playoff positions. Just the one game in the United Counties League this weekend for us, as always, with Easington Sports. It's an 8-goal thriller for Easington, and obviously we've been reporting on conceding quite a lot of goals in the last few weeks. Kept a clean sheet last week, but unfortunately conceded 5 again this week. They were defeated 5-3, so yeah, a bit of a thriller there. Josh Dubois scored twice, and Luke Swan with the other goal for Easington as they lost away at Histon. Hellenic Division 1, our Step 6 sides, and actually it was majority of Hellenic Challenge Cup action for our sides this weekend. Wantage Town comfortably dispatched Ardley Reserve 6-0, 3 goals in each half, easily secured their passage through to the next round. Casterton beat Redditch Borough 3-0 to book their place in the next round too. However, Tame United reserves were beaten 2-0 away at Malmesbury Victoria, while Kidlington Development had a bit of a day to forget. They lost 10-0 to Bromscombe and Thrupp, as both of Kidlington and Thames reserves were eliminated from the competition. There was one Hellenic Division 1 game, though. It was Clanfield who lost 2-0 to Woodford United, and Clanfield struggling at this early stage of the season and second bottom in the league. We'll have a look at Sunday's action now, and obviously it was a very big weekend last weekend with teams in Women's FA Cup action. It was just all league action this weekend, so a bit of normality for a couple of weekends or so. I say normality though, but Oxford United struck double figures in their game. A big win against Billericay Town in the Women's National League South. Emma Thompson and Holly Manders both scored hat-tricks in that big win. They won 10-0 against Billericay Town. Abingdon United, they were also, I'd say, big victors, but not to anywhere near the quite levels of Oxford United. They beat Keynsham Town 4-1 at the North Court. Molly Ligo-Jackson scored twice, while Mimi Hodges and Isabel Bradley also scored in their impressive win there. And obviously after their FA Cup exploits last week, Oxford City were back in league action. They had a trip to AFC Portchester, and it finished 2-2 there. Georgina Taman put City ahead early on, but Portchester turned it around and went 2-1 up. But a late Ellie White penalty secured a point apiece for City AFC Portchester. And that is what happened this weekend, Colin.
Okay, now it's time for our fixture focus. Patrick, can you go through and tell us what our local football fans have got to look forward to this weekend, Patrick?
Yes, and I nearly made a mistake last weekend, as I always do with Oxford United after an international break, and report their fixture a week early. But Oxford United, they have an early kickoff, 12:30 against Derby County at the Kassam in the Championship this weekend. Oxford City also at home, 3 p.m. kickoff. They face Southport in National League North. Really, really big game for City, really, as Southport are rock bottom of National League North. So Ross Jenkins' men really need to get 3 points from that game to try and find some momentum and get themselves out of the relegation zone themselves. Banbury United, after 2 weekends in cup action, are back in league action. They welcome Hales Owen Town in Southern League Premier Central. While our Southern League Division 1 fixtures, Tame United are on the road. They head to Barton Rovers in the Central Division. While in the South Division, Didcot Town have an extremely long journey. They head down to Falmouth Town in the South Division. Yeah, so we've spoken about it a lot, haven't we, Colin, in the past about travelling that league. So Didcot will certainly be racking up the miles on Saturday.
Yeah, and Falmouth are very well supported too. I think it'll be a good crowd down there at Falmouth Town. They come up through the non-leagues down there in Cornwall quite rapidly with great following home and away. So it should be a good crowd down there. But if it's a long way to come back on the coach if you lose, isn't it, Patrick?
Oh, absolutely. And Oxford City have had their fair share of those over the years, and especially in National League a few years ago where unfortunately, most games ended in defeat. But however, you go and get a win there. It's also that journey, several hours on the coach, seems like it takes half an hour if you get a few beers and some singing going on the coach. But
okay, Patrick, so tell us about the women's games on Sunday, please.
Yeah, just a couple of teams in action this weekend. It's the two Oxford sides. Oxford United, they are back in Women's National League Cup action. They host Chelsea Academy at Court Place Farm at midday. And at Court Place Farm at 3 p.m, so just after the Oxford United game, Oxford City are in Oxfordshire Women's Senior Cup action. They host Tower Hill there. So no league action this week. It's just all cup action for our women's sides.
All right, so Patrick, Oxford City need to pick up points in the National League North. Last week you told us that Zach McEachran was out for a while. Any updates on his injury?
Yeah, the only thing I've heard was on the terraces last weekend when it turned out he was off. And from what I heard, they were hoping it was going to be 5 or 6 weeks, I think.
Oh,
so
okay.
Obviously at this stage now, we're 2 weeks into that. So hopefully 3 or 4 weeks left, I guess. But obviously a big blow for City, that injury.
But a bright spot is Tom Scott got named by the away reporter in the National Non-League paper as man of the match, and that game was given 4 stars. So there's hope for City to try and drag themselves out of the relegation zone, Patrick.
Yeah, and Tom Scott's had a really good season so far. He's, he scored at least, I think he scored 4, maybe 5 goals so far this season, and he's also probably up to those levels in assists as well. So he's having a really good season and being a real catalyst for City. Obviously need to pray that he doesn't get himself any injuries in the coming weeks. Hopefully be one of City's key players who doesn't get injured, given our record in recent weeks. There's a real important run of games coming up for City, I think. As I said earlier, playing Southport this weekend, who are rock bottom, and however, you don't really want to see any team rock bottom. You got to be trying to get 3 points against them. And coming up, there's Leamington, Bedford, and Bedford, who are also kind of down in that area. So yeah, really big run of games for City coming up, and you feel like they need to be picking up near maximum points from those games really to have any chance of getting back above the line. And actually looking at the league table, it's very close still at this early stage of the season. So you never know, 2 or 3 wins and all of a sudden you're back in a very mid-table battle again. So
yeah, and we've seen that with Tame United, who've just, you say, 2 or 3 wins, and they're just up to 13th. And it remains really tight for Didcot Town, who are still in the relegation zone of Division 1 South, but just 4 points separating the bottom 10 teams in that league, Patrick. So don't you just love non-league football?
Yeah, I had a quick look at that league table before we came on air, and Yeah, Didcot Town they're in the bottom four, but they're equal on points with about 3 teams above them. So yeah, again, a couple of wins and they're mid-table again, a bit like Tame in the Central Division as well, where picks up a few wins and all of a sudden flying up the table. But what really shows is even at this early stage of the season that these leagues are getting way more competitive, aren't they, Colin? And
Absolutely, yeah.
it shows that everyone can beat anyone in any division. And even that, I know we don't really cover the EFL that much because we've only got Oxford United, but I think it's any division now in the EFL down to the lower levels of non-league, that if you get the top playing the bottom team, it's not a dead cert, is it, that you're going to win? So yeah, it's good and bad because yeah, you pick up points yourself, but you're praying that teams below you also don't pick up points to ensure that you stay above them. When anyone can beat anyone, it's always tough to see who's going to finish below you, isn't it?
All right, but on that note, then there's lots to look forward to this coming weekend. For the time being, though, Patrick Lock, thanks for your time.